Good morning, Ms. Buchanan's Algebra 1A class. I am looking at the standard form test. We are to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line. I hope you pause this as I'm going to go through this with clarifications and with a little bit of guidance. For number one, we're to write in slope-intercept form, as I read. We want to get y by itself. Okay, so remember, we're going to get rid of this 4x. So negative 4x, we're going to subtract 4x from both sides. And we want it to look like this, y equals mx plus b, right? So we want whatever's with the x to come right after that equal sign. And then whatever number we have out by itself, we want it out here by itself all the way to the right. So that 15 is going to be pushed all the way to the right. So notice I'm left with negative 3y equals negative 4x. And then I have, that was a positive 15, so it's going to be like that. I'll take you one step further. I'm going to divide by negative 3 to get y by itself. And I'm going to divide this by negative 3 and divide this by negative 3, okay? It's about as far as I can take you. Remember, a negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive, so you're just going to leave that as a fraction because remember, our slope is going to be rise over run. So whatever that answer is with the x, you're going to put right here, just basically 4 over 3. And then whatever 15 divided by negative 3 is, you're going to write that answer here. All right? Moving on to number 2. You want to get the y by itself, so the first thing that you're going to do is subtract 7x from both sides and make it look like your number 1, and make it look like this. Divide both sides by negative 4, all terms. So you're going to end up with y equals, something with the x, and then you're going to have something back here. And number 3, I want to get the y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Notice you end up with negative y equals negative 2x plus a 3. Okay, you are not done. We do not want to know what negative y is. We want to know what regular y is. So if I change the sign here, you have to change this sign and you have to change this sign. So just rewrite everything with opposite signs and you'll have y equals this with opposite signs. Okay? Moving on to the next problems, Mrs. Buchanan wants you to use your x and y intercepts. I'm not going to put these in slope-intercept form like I did on the review. Some of them because it was just, more accurate. She says, the accuracy isn't that big of a deal right here. What she really wants to focus on is the x and y intercepts. So with that in mind, if x equals 0, I cover up the 3x because 3 times 0 would be 0 too. So if I have, x equaling 0, so on this graph, x equals 0 right here, now I'm just going to figure out what y equals. So that would be negative 2y equals 6. So I have negative 2y equals 6, right? Okay, so with negative 2y equals 6, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. And I'm going to have y equals, this cancels out, whatever 6 divided by negative 2 is. Put that point on the y-axis. And then, for this one, I have 3x when y equals 0. To find the x-intercept, 3x equals 6 is what I have. So I have 3x equals 6. I am going to divide both sides by 3. These cancel out. I have x equals 6 divided by 3. Whatever 6 divided by 3 is, that's going to be your x value. Put that on the x-axis. Number 5 is a little bit different because we're going to end up with a fraction, and I want to help walk you through that one. First of all, if x equals 0, notice I block it out, I'm left with negative 4y equals negative 20. So negative 4y equals negative 20. I divide both sides by negative 4. I'm left with y equals whatever negative 20 divided by negative 4 is. That's the point. That's where you're going to put the point on the y-axis. Okay. Then I have when y equals 0, this is where we're going to get into a fraction. Okay. Or a decimal, I should say, when we divide it. I have 7x equals negative 20, notice. So 7x equals negative 20. I'm going to divide both sides by 7. Divide by 7, divide by 7. When you divide this, you are going to get a decimal. You'll have to know where on the x-axis to put that decimal, okay? To put that amount. It's going to be between two numbers. And just put that point in between those two numbers, and that's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's what I was talking about not being a perfect placement of the point. For number 6, when x equals 0, I'm left with 5y equals negative 10. So 5y equals negative 10. And then I am going to divide both sides by 5. And y is going to equal whatever negative 10 divided by 5 is. When y equals 0, I'm left with 7x equals negative 10. We're going to be left with another decimal here, because I'm going to divide by 7 to get x by itself. And negative 10 divided by 7, you're going to get a decimal, and so that's going to be in between two numbers on the x-axis somewhere. Okay, so and put that in between those two values, of, those two whole numbers. Where would that decimal be? Okay, for number 7, when x is 0, I'm left with negative 2y equals 6. Negative 2y equals 6. And if you're solving these for, if y equals 0, the x first, it doesn't matter. I just always, get rid of the x first and figure out the y first. You could figure out the x first, the x intercept first if you want. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. These cancel out. Y is going to equal whatever 6 divided by negative 2 is. And then I have 5x equals 6 when y is 0. I get 5x equals 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. X is going to equal 6 divided by 5. 6 divided by 5 is going to give you a fraction. And you got to figure out in between what two numbers are you going to put that point. Number 8. X equals negative 4. Okay, this one I'm going to tell you is going to be a vertical line. Okay, being a vertical line, where does x always equal negative 4? So go on the x-axis, find negative 4, put a point there. And then you're going to draw a vertical line on that point where no matter what y equals, x is always going to equal negative 4. Number 9 is going to be a horizontal line. Okay, you're going to go where y equals 3. You're going to put a point there. And then you're going to draw a horizontal line on that line that's already there for y equals 3. And no matter what x equals, y is always going to equal 3. Number 10 is probably the easiest problem on the whole page. Wish this was number 1. When x equals 0, I'm left with negative 2y equals negative 2. So negative 2y equals negative 2. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2 to get y by itself. And I end up with negative 2 divided by negative 2. That's going to give me a number that you're going to place a point on the y-axis. And then notice when y equals 0, I'm left with x equals negative 2. I just gave you an answer. There's nothing else to figure out. X equals negative 2. go to the x-axis where -2 is, put a point there. And make sure you're connecting all these points to make lines. Number 11, last one, when x equals 0, I'm left with -5y equals 5. -5y equals 5. I divide both sides by -5. So y, your first point, is going to be placed where y equals 5 divided by -5. Whatever 5 divided by -5 is, put a point there on the y-axis. When y equals 0, I'm left with 2x equals 5. So 2x equals 5. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get x by itself. And I'm left with x equals, what is 5 divided by 2? Whatever that is, it's going to be a fraction. And you're going to put that point in between the two whole numbers where that fraction would be on the x-axis, and connect those 2 points, and you have your line. Hope this was helpful, and I hope you get the best grade possible on this test.